Well, my faithful subscribers, um, someone sent me an article about Armstrong economics. Martin Armstrong. I actually read this already, but it kind of made me think. It's a short article, quite short, gets right to the point. I'm gonna read it in a second. But I thought to myself, because I read this and I think, man, back to that 1988 cover of the Economist magazine. I started searching eBay. I said, I wonder if I can find the 1988, the magazine, the one. And I did find 1988, but it was different, volume, whatever number. It wasn't that one. So I couldn't find it. So I'm like, well, I wonder if I can find, because we all talk about the cover of the magazine. Well, thought about what's inside the magazine. If that's just the cover, and again, if that's what they're choosing for the cover, then there must be certainly a story specifically in this, about the what the cover is about. So I found the next best thing. Someone blogged about it in 2014. Yep, July 26, 2014, on a WordPress blog. And I want to cover what they've noted on, page such and such about this, cover. Because I can't possibly sit here seeing that 2018, again, that's the year the cover talks about new world currency. I can't sit here seeing how close we are to that and all these numbers that are just ballooning higher, out of control, debt, bubble, bubble, bubble. I mean, it has to be dealt with soon. And again, Trump, if he's smart, and I know he's smart, he's going to want this issue to come sooner rather than later so he can get reelected after he tries to help fix the problem. Not at the last minute while he's trying to campaign for his next term, the crisis hits and he has to deal with it. No way. I can't come out here and make a prediction, but boy, oh boy, do I really think the end of this year we could start to see some fireworks in the whole, markets and economy thing. But these magicians, boy, can they pull a rabbit out of their hat when they need to. Anyways, let's get on with this article because I want to then read you the blog about what was in the magazine. So Martin Armstrong of ArmstrongEconomics.com posted yesterday, which is the 18th for me. While CNN and ABC News have turned really vicious against Trump, they are failing to report the real impact of world events that can undo everything. As we head into April and May, we are looking at a real crisis emerging that is beyond contemplation. The prospect of the breakup of the European Union because Brussels refuses to consider that their dream of ruling all of Europe is coming to an end. Yes, Juncker has said he will stand down while Draghi tries to threaten member states, saying that they have to pay up in order to leave. Last September, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, has warned at the G20 summit when it was in China during that time, that in the face of crises, the refusal to reform how things are functioning will lead to economic weakness in a global economy. Quote, the latest data shows subdued activity, less growth in trade, and a very low inflation, suggesting an even weaker global economic growth this year, the IMF told the G20 leaders. The real crisis, he says, behind the curtain remains not trade, but banking. The EU hired over 20,000 people to regulate the European banking system. They have been installing bail-ins after that worked in Cyprus. They have been moving toward instant banking transfers by September 2017. That's close to 2018, Economist Magazine. With the design of eliminating cash. So keep this in mind as I read you the next blog thing about that, the Economist thing. The cracks in the foundation. Oh, hold on. All of this becomes a major risk, and the European Central Bank holds 40% of all government debt in the Eurozone. The cracks in the foundation of the EU are tremendous, and the ramifications will ripple through the entire global economy. The seriousness of the crisis is being ignored by mainstream media because they are too busy trying to undermine Trump because their own ratings have collapsed. Newspapers are for the 50-plus generation. The youth go to the internet and really do not watch news of mainstream media. They are rapidly becoming sidelined, and they hate Trump's tweets because he is going directly to the people, much as FDR did with his fireside chats. So, on to this interesting. This is from socioecohistory.wordpress.com from, well, I guess it's 3 years ago almost now, right? July 2014. Flashback 1988. Get ready for a world currency by 2018. The Economist Magazine. Again, just to recap, it says get ready for a world currency in the cover. It's got a phoenix with a gigantic gold coin around its neck that has the year 2018. And a bunch of burning paper dollars at its feet. It's rising from the ashes of paper fiat. Okay? So the cover, get ready for a world currency. Source, Economist Magazine from January 9th, 1988, volume 306. He says, I guess pages or paragraphs 9 through 10. 30 years from now, Americans, Japanese, Europeans, and people in many other rich countries, and some relatively poor ones, will probably be paying for their shopping with the same currency. Prices will be quoted not in dollars, yen, or D-marks, but let's say the phoenix. The phoenix will be favored by companies and shoppers because it will be more convenient than today's national currencies, which by then will seem a quaint cause of much disruption to economic life in the last 20th century. At the beginning of 1988, this appears an outlandish prediction, they say in their own magazine. It's not outlandish, my friends. This is me talking. It's not outlandish when you come to understand the ruling elite, the club. This is their agenda. So if they write about it 30 years ago when no one would even think about it, given any 2 seconds of their time to even ponder, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about? America, USA, If there's an agenda, it's clear. Yes, it makes perfect sense. But for them, and they're throwing it in your face. At the beginning of 1988, this appears an outlandish prediction. They're saying, see, they're not suggesting. He said it right there. This will seem like an outlandish prediction. So they're predicting it. Real hard to predict something. I'm going to predict that in exactly 5 seconds, I'm going to pick up the same silver coin I usually pick up and show you. Oh, it's that one. Nah. Other side, the pandas. Oh, the pandas playing with the Phoenix coin, apparently. Or maybe that'll be like, cryptocurrency, the Phoenix coin. So anyways, at the beginning of 88, this appears as an outlandish prediction. Proposals for eventual monetary union proliferated 5 and 10 years ago, but they hardly envisaged the setbacks of 1987, the market crash. The governments of the big economies tried to move an inch or two towards a more managed system of exchange rates, a logical preliminary, it might seem, to radical monetary reform. Radical monetary, like what? For lack of cooperation in their underlying economic policies, they bungled it horribly and provoked the rise in interest rates that brought on the stock market crash of October 87. These events have chastened exchange rate reformers. The market crash taught them that the pretense of policy cooperation can be worse than nothing, and that until real cooperation is feasible, i.e., until governments surrender some economic sovereignty, further attempts to peg currencies will flounder. So what did they say? I'll just repeat it. Until governments surrender some economic sovereignty, anything they try to do, ultimately, with their currency will flounder. Okay? The New World Economy. The biggest change in the world economy since the early 70s is that flows of money have replaced trade in goods as the force that drives exchange rates. As a result of the relentless integration of the world's financial markets, differences in national economic policies can disturb interest rates or expectations of future interest rates only slightly, yet still call forth huge transfers of financial assets from one country to another. You mean like the gold and things leaving the west and heading to China, the east? Is that kind of, maybe? These transfers swamp the flow of trade revenues in their effect on the demand and supply for different currencies, and hence in their effect on exchange rates. As telecommunications technology continues to advance, these transactions will be cheaper and faster still. With uncoordinated economic policies, currencies can get only more volatile. In all these ways, national economic boundaries are slowly dissolving. What was that? National economic boundaries are slowly dissolving. Again, world trade, NAFTA, CAFTA, all that stuff. That came after this. As the trend continues, the appeal of a currency union across at least the main industrial countries will seem irresistible to everybody except foreign exchange traders and governments. In the Phoenix zone, economic adjustment to shifts in relative prices would happen smoothly and automatically, rather as it does today between different regions with large economies. The absence of all currency risk would spur trade, investment, and employment. So, we don't have currency risk, devaluations, and all that crap. They're saying it would spur trade, it would spur investment, and it would spur employment. Oh, it's fantastic, right? The Phoenix zone would impose tight constraints on national governments. Catch that? The Phoenix zone, again, this is like their currency. They're calling it the Phoenix. So almost like the EU zone or the, European Union with its euro. So the Phoenix zone would impose tight constraints on national government. America, your lifestyles are going down the tubes. Sorry about your luck. We've got to listen to the Phoenix zone thing we've joined. Sorry about that. No more bailouts, no more money printing. We'll print the money. You'll borrow it. You'll pay our masters the interest rates on that, and you can't complain because it's our money and you're using it. And you sign an agreement and all that kind of stuff. One world system, you're part of it. Have a nice day. So the Phoenix zone would impose tight constraints on national governments. There would be no such thing, for instance, as a national monetary policy. The world Phoenix supply would be fixed by a new central bank, descended perhaps from the IMF. The world inflation rate, and hence, with narrow margins, each national inflation rate would be in its charge. Each inflation tax, governments and their creditors would be forced to judge their borrowing and lending plans more carefully than they do today. This means a big loss of economic sovereignty, but the trends that make the Phoenix so appealing are taking that sovereignty away in any case. Even in a world of more or less floating exchange rates, individual governments have seen their policy independence checked by an unfriendly outside world. As the next century approaches, the natural forces that are pushing the world, which the next century, year 2000 plus, okay? The natural forces that are pushing the world toward economic integration will offer governments a broad choice. They can go with the flow, or they can build barricades. Preparing the way for the Phoenix will mean fewer pretended agreements on policy and more real ones. It will mean allowing and then actively promoting the private sector use of an international money alongside existing national monies. That would let people vote with their wallets for the eventual move to a full currency union, which would mean what? One world order, one world currency. The phoenix would probably start as a cocktail of national currencies, just as the SDR, or special drawing right, is today. That's the IMF's. In time, though, its value against national currencies would cease to matter because people would choose it for its convenience and the stability of its purchasing power. If it's convenient, it can't be paper dollars anymore, can it? It's got to be completely digital. And I think Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, etc., that is maybe how they sell it to us all. The alternative to preserve policymaking autonomy would involve a new proliferation of truly draconian controls on trade and capital flows. This course offers governments a splendid time. They could manage exchange rate movements, deploy monetary and fiscal policy without inhibition, and tackle the resulting bursts of inflation with prices and income policies. It is a growth crippling prospect, right? Not a good idea. Pencil in the Phoenix for around 2018 and welcome it when it comes. That's the story. This was 29 years ago. Okay? The Economist, owned partially by the Rothschild family. Rothschild family is the one who owns all the central banks in the world, in case you didn't know that, mostly. So it's their grand idea. They want a central bank that they don't have to manage the one in China, get some insider in China to do their bidding, and go to this country. That's a lot of work. If we just had one central bank of the world with unelected officials, of course, that we choose, we as in the club, we'll put them in there, and they'll set policy, for all countries. You may not like it. You may not like what they do with interest rates, but you just have to suck it up and deal with it. Suck it up, my sister would say. Nobody told you life was fair. Nobody said life was fair. Yeah, I understand that, but damn. What we're getting from government, boy, I hope that's not what you mean by life isn't fair. That's freaking brutal. But anyways, I want to share that with you. Because to this date, I don't think I've ever found what was in the magazine. I saw the cover. We made all the comments about it. A bunch of people have. But I found someone that had posted the specific part to the cover. Pencil in the Phoenix right around 2018. No kidding. Which would mean what? The 2008 collapse, all this stuff. We thought it came out of nowhere. We didn't know. It just happened. If we're going to pencil in the Phoenix around 2018, how could all that have just been a coincidence? We didn't see it coming. We didn't know. These things were deliberate, my friends. All of this was deliberate to destabilize the current systems of the world, the economic systems, so that they could usher this in, get the whole world in unbelievable debt, and then make everybody a deal, as in the countries. Not you. You're going to pay your debt. You will still have it. But the countries, they'll get together, in my opinion. All of our debt's going to go away. We're going to join this currency bloc. We're going to level the playing field, as Trump said. He spoke with Chinese president and Japan. We're going to level the playing field. It's going to happen sooner than anybody thinks. He said that. It's going to happen sooner. We have this plan. But he didn't say what the plan was. I wonder if we're about to pencil in the Phoenix in the near future. We shall see. Take care.